Welcome to Dream Speak English. In every video, we explore stories that bring English to life. Today's journey takes us into a peaceful evening on a quiet river, where a beautiful bride in a white dress drifts gently in a wooden boat, accompanied by two graceful swans. We'll discover the symbolism of wedding traditions, the meaning of white dresses and faithful swans, and the deep connection between water, nighttime, and new beginnings. Let's get started. Part 1. The River at Twilight. The evening arrives softly on the water. A bride sits in a small wooden boat, her white dress spreading around her like petals on the surface of a calm lake. The fabric catches the last light of day, glowing gently as darkness begins to settle over the quiet river. Her veil flows behind her, delicate as morning mist, moving slightly with the gentle breath of wind that travels across the water. Two white swans glide near the boat. Their movements create small ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, touching the wooden sides of the boat before disappearing into the stillness. The swans move without hurry, their necks curved in that graceful way that painters and poets have admired for centuries. They seem to guard the bride, or perhaps they simply share this peaceful moment with her, companions in the quiet time between day and night. The water beneath the boat holds the sky like a mirror. Stars begin to appear, first one, then another, until the surface of the river becomes a reflection of the heavens above. The bride looks down and sees herself doubled in the water, her white dress creating a soft glow that seems to come from within the river itself. This doubling feels significant, as if the water shows both who she is now and who she will become. White wedding dresses carry meanings that stretch back through time. The color white speaks a language older than words. In many cultures, white represents purity, new beginnings, and the fresh start that marriage brings. When a bride wears white, she walks into her ceremony wrapped in symbolism that connects her to countless other brides who came before her. The tradition of white wedding dresses became popular in the Western world during the 19th century. Before this time, brides wore their best dresses, whatever color those happened to be. Rich fabrics and beautiful decorations mattered more than the specific color. A bride might wear red, blue, green, or any shade that suited her and showed her family's prosperity. Then Queen Victoria of England married Prince Albert in 1840, and she chose to wear a white dress. The choice surprised many people. Royal brides typically wore elaborate dresses in colors that showed their status and wealth. But Victoria wanted something different. She wore white satin trimmed with orange blossoms, and her choice changed wedding fashion forever. Women across England and eventually around the world began to see white as the proper color for a bride. The popularity of white wedding dresses spread slowly at first, then more quickly as photographs and magazines carried images of brides in white across continents and oceans. By the early 20th century, white had become the expected choice for brides in many Western countries. The tradition took roots so deeply that many people today assume white has always been the color of weddings, forgetting the rich history of colorful wedding garments that came before. But white wedding dresses mean different things in different parts of the world. In some Eastern cultures, white represents mourning and death, making it an unusual choice for a celebration of new life together. Chinese brides traditionally wear red, a color that symbolizes good fortune, joy, and prosperity. Indian brides often choose red or other vibrant colors, with elaborate designs that tell stories through fabric and embroidery. These traditions remind us that beauty and meaning take many forms across the world. The bride in the boat wears her white dress as night deepens around her. The fabric seems to gather the last light, holding it close even as darkness spreads across the water. Her dress becomes a small island of light on the river, visible from the shore where lanterns begin to glow in distant windows. The symbolism of white goes beyond purity. White contains all colors within it, just as white light holds the entire rainbow. A bride in white carries potential, possibility, and the promise of a life that will be filled with many experiences, many colors, many moments both bright and shadowed. The white dress acknowledges that she stands at a threshold, about to cross from one way of being into another. Wedding dresses themselves carry weight beyond their physical fabric. They hold dreams, hopes, and the careful planning that goes into choosing the perfect dress. Some brides spend months searching for the right gown, trying on dozens of dresses before finding the one that feels like it was made for them. Other brides wear dresses that belonged to their mothers or grandmothers, carrying family history in the seams and stitching. The details of a wedding dress tell stories. Lace speaks of delicacy and craftsmanship. Silk whispers of luxury and smoothness. Cotton breathes and moves easily, practical and comfortable. Beads catch light and sparkle like stars, drawing the eye and creating patterns that dance when the bride moves. Each choice in fabric, cut, and decoration reflects the bride's personality and her vision for this important day. Veils add another layer of symbolism to the bridal image. The bride in the boat wears a veil that trails in the wind, transparent and light as breath. Veils have ancient origins, appearing in wedding ceremonies across many cultures and time periods. Some historians believe veils began as protection against evil spirits who might envy the bride's happiness and try to harm her. The veil created a barrier, hiding the bride's face until the crucial moment of the ceremony. Other traditions use the veil differently. In some cultures, the groom lifts the veil to see his bride's face for the first time during the ceremony, creating a moment of revelation and recognition. In other traditions, the bride keeps her face covered until after the ceremony complete, maintaining an element of mystery and anticipation. The transparency of modern veils creates a beautiful paradox. They cover while revealing, hide while showing, protect while remaining open. A bride behind a veil becomes both present and distant, visible but softened, thereby transformed into something slightly otherworldly. The veil marks her as separate from ordinary life, suspended in this special moment that exists outside of regular time. As the boat drifts slowly downstream, the bride remains still, almost like a statue or a painting come to life. The river carries her gently, requiring no effort on her part. This passive movement mirrors something essential about weddings themselves. The ceremony carries the bride forward into a new life, supported by tradition, by family, by the partner who waits for her, and by the community that gathers to witness and celebrate. The wooden boat beneath her has its own significance. Boats appear in wedding traditions from many cultures, representing the journey that marriage becomes. In some places, couples travel by boat to their wedding ceremony, making the water crossing symbolic of the transition they undertake together. In other traditions, miniature boats appear as decorations or gifts, reminding the couple that they now sail through life together, navigating both calm waters and storms as a team. This particular boat moves slowly, so slowly that the movement almost cannot be seen. Only by watching the background, the trees on the shore, the position of the moon rising above the horizon, can an observer tell that the boat travels at all. This gentle pace creates a hypnotic effect, soothing and peaceful, perfect for the quiet hours of evening when the world begins to rest. Part 2. The Swans and Their Ancient Meanings. The two swans swim near the boat, their presence both graceful and powerful. Swans possess a beauty that cultures around the world have recognized and celebrated for thousands of years. Their long necks curve in perfect arcs. Their feathers reflect pure white in the moonlight, so white they almost seem to glow from within. When they move through water, they create a sense of effortless motion, as if swimming requires no work at all, as if they simply think about moving and the water carries them there. But beneath the surface, beneath the calm appearance, swan feet paddle constantly, working hard to maintain that appearance of ease and grace. This hidden effort makes swans fitting symbols for marriage itself. Marriages look smooth and peaceful from outside, but they require constant work, constant attention, constant paddling beneath the surface to keep everything moving forward smoothly. Swans mate for life in most cases. When a swan finds a partner, the two birds stay together through seasons and years, building nests together, raising their young together, and swimming side by side through all kinds of weather. This loyalty has made swans powerful symbols of faithful love, devotion, and the kind of partnership that endures through time. The ancient Greeks told stories about swans and their connection to love. They believed swans pulled the chariot of Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. In these myths, swans became messengers of love, carriers of romance, and sacred birds who understood the mysteries of the heart. To see swans meant that love was near, that beauty blessed the moment, that something special was unfolding. Celtic traditions also gave swans important roles in stories of love and transformation. In Irish mythology, the children of Lyre were turned into swans by their jealous stepmother, condemned to spend hundreds of years in swan form before a spell could break the enchantment. This story speaks of endurance, of maintaining one's true self even when circumstances force unwanted changes, and of the hope that eventually transformation can lead back to wholeness. The connection between swans and transformation appears again and again in stories from many cultures. The fairy tale of the Swan Princess tells of a young woman who becomes a swan during the day and returns to human form only at night. This tale explores themes of dual nature, hidden identity, and the power of true love to see past surface appearances to the real person beneath. Hans Christian Andersen wrote about The Ugly Duckling, perhaps the most famous swan story of all. This tale follows a young bird who believes himself ugly and different, rejected by ducks and other farm birds, until he discovers he was actually a swan all along. The story celebrates the moment when someone finally understands their true nature and finds where they belong. For brides and grooms, the wedding ceremony can feel like this kind of revelation, a moment when they step into their full identity as partners, as a married couple, as people who have found where they belong. The swans near the bride's boat touch their beaks together in the moonlight. This gesture forms a heart shape, an image that appears on countless wedding decorations, cards, and photographs. When swans create this heart shape, they engage in a courtship behavior, a way of bonding and showing affection that strengthens their connection to each other. Seeing two swans form a heart feels like receiving a message from nature about the beauty and rightness of love. Water surrounds the bride, the boat, and the swans. Water holds its own deep symbolism in wedding traditions around the world. Water represents cleansing, renewal, and the washing away of the old to make room for the new. In some ceremonies, the couple drinks water together, sharing from the same cup as a symbol of how they will share life together. In other traditions, water is sprinkled on the couple to bless them, or they wash each other's hands as a sign of their commitment to care for one another. Rivers, specifically, symbolize the flow of time and life. Rivers move constantly forward, never returning to the same place twice, always carrying water from the past into the future. A bride floating on a river rides this flow of time, moving from who she was toward who she will become. The river asks nothing of her except that she trust its current, that she allow herself to be carried, that she accept this journey into unknown waters. The stillness of this particular river creates a different feeling. The water barely moves, so calm it reflects everything perfectly. This stillness suggests peace, contemplation, and the quiet moments before major changes occur. In still water, a person can see clearly, can think deeply, can prepare mentally and emotionally for what comes next. Mist rises from the surface of the river, thin and delicate, adding a dreamlike quality to the scene. Mist blurs boundaries between water and air, between the river and the sky, between the solid world and something more ethereal. In this mist, the bride seems to exist in a special realm, a space between ordinary life and something touched by magic. Many cultures believe that mist and fog thin the barriers between worlds. In Celtic tradition, mist marked places where the ordinary world touched the realm of spirits and magic. Seeing mist meant standing in a place where anything might happen, where the usual rules might not apply, where transformation became possible. A bride in the mist becomes a figure in a tale, a character in a story that is both ancient and brand new. The moon rises higher now, full and bright, casting silver light across the water. Moonlight has always been associated with romance, with mystery, with the feminine energy that creates and nurtures life. Many wedding traditions time ceremonies according to the moon, believing that certain moon phases bring good fortune to marriages. A full moon, like the one shining on this river, represents completion, fullness, and the peak of light in darkness. In Hindu tradition, the moon plays an important role in determining wedding dates. Astrologers consult the positions of the moon and other celestial bodies to find auspicious times for ceremonies. The moon's phases, its position in relation to various constellations, and its interaction with other planets all contribute to choosing the perfect moment for a couple to marry. The reflection of the moon in the water creates a second moon, a twin made of light and water. The bride can look up at the real moon or down at the reflected moon, and both seem equally present, equally real. This doubling reminds us that marriage creates new reflections, new ways of seeing oneself through the mirror of another person, new understandings that come from sharing life with a partner. Part 3. Ceremonies across cultures and time. Wedding ceremonies take thousands of different forms across the world, each one reflecting the values, beliefs, and aesthetic preferences of the culture that created it. Yet beneath all this beautiful variety, certain themes appear again and again, suggesting that human beings everywhere recognize marriage as something sacred, something worthy of celebration, something that deserves to be marked with ritual and meaning. The earliest evidence of wedding ceremonies comes from ancient Mesopotamia, thousands of years before the Common Era. Clay tablets record marriage contracts, describing agreements between families, the exchange of gifts, and the formal recognition of two people joining their lives. These ancient weddings focused heavily on the practical aspects of marriage, on the creation of alliances between families, on the transfer of property, and on the establishment of legitimate heirs. But even in these practical ceremonies, elements of celebration appeared. Music played, special foods were prepared, and communities gathered to witness the union. The human impulse to mark important transitions with beauty and festivity seems to be very old indeed, woven into the fabric of what it means to be human. Ancient Roman weddings included many elements that still appear in modern ceremonies. Romans exchanged rings as symbols of their union, believing the circle represented eternity and the never-ending nature of the commitment they made. They often wore flowers, particularly orange blossoms, which symbolized fertility and good fortune. The bride wore a special veil called a flammeum, bright orange-red in color, which was believed to protect her from evil spirits. Roman couples also joined their right hands during the ceremony, a gesture called dextrum iunctio. This joining of hands symbolized the agreement between the couple, the creation of a new bond, and the mutual consent that lay at the heart of the marriage. Today, many Western wedding ceremonies still include the joining of hands, a gesture that has survived for more than 2,000 years. In Jewish tradition, weddings take place under a chuppah, a canopy that symbolizes the new home the couple will build together. The chuppah has 4 open sides, representing the hospitality that their home will show to visitors and the way their lives will be open to family and community. During the ceremony, the couple drinks wine together from a shared cup, and at the end, the groom breaks a glass, creating a loud sound that marks the moment of transformation. This breaking of glass has multiple meanings, including remembering the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, acknowledging that joy and sorrow mix in life, and creating a definitive moment that cannot be undone. Hindu weddings overflow with color, music, and ritual. These ceremonies often last for several days, with different events and celebrations marking various aspects of the union. The couple walks around a sacred fire 7 times, with each circle representing a different vow they make to each other. Fire witnesses their promises, purifies their intentions, and symbolizes the light they will bring to each other's lives. The bride often wears red, a color that represents prosperity, fertility, and the auspicious nature of the occasion. In some Hindu ceremonies, the groom's brother playfully refuses to let the couple complete the 7 circles around the fire until the groom pays a small gift or sum of money. This light-hearted moment adds humor to the serious ceremony, reminding everyone that marriage includes joy, playfulness, and the happy interactions between families. Chinese wedding traditions have evolved over thousands of years, creating elaborate ceremonies rich with symbolism. Red dominates these celebrations, appearing in the bride's dress, in decorations, in envelopes containing gifts of money, and in the lanterns that light the wedding venue. Tea ceremonies honor the couple's parents and elders, with the bride and groom serving tea as a gesture of respect and gratitude for the support they have received. The tradition of the bridal sedan chair, carried through the streets with musicians announcing the bride's arrival, created a public spectacle that allowed the entire community to participate in the celebration. Modern Chinese weddings often include cars decorated with red ribbons and flowers, a contemporary version of the traditional sedan chair that maintains the spirit of public celebration and joy. African wedding traditions vary enormously across the continent's many cultures and regions, but certain elements appear frequently. The payment of bride price or dowry creates formal ties between families, acknowledging that marriage joins not just two individuals but two extended networks of relatives. In some traditions, the couple jumps over a broom together, symbolizing their leap into a new life and their commitment to building a home together. This tradition was maintained by enslaved Africans in America, who were often forbidden formal marriage ceremonies, and it remains an important part of many African American weddings today. In some West African traditions, the bride wears multiple elaborate outfits during the wedding festivities, changing clothes several times to showcase different fabrics, colors, and styles. Each outfit represents a different aspect of her identity, her heritage, and her hopes for the future. The wedding becomes a fashion show, an art exhibition, and a celebration of beauty all at once. Celtic handfasting ceremonies bind the couple's hands together with cord or ribbon, creating a physical representation of their union. This binding gave rise to the expression tying the knot, which we still use today to describe getting married. The handfasting ceremony emphasizes the couple's choice to bind themselves together, to interweave their lives, and to create a knot that grows stronger rather than weaker over time. Native American wedding traditions reflect the deep connection between people and the natural world. Some ceremonies include a blanket ritual, where the couple is wrapped together in a blanket that symbolizes their new life as one unit. Other traditions involve the couple drinking from two separate vessels, then drinking together from a shared vessel, representing the joining of two individuals into a partnership while maintaining their individual identities. The diversity of wedding traditions across cultures reveals something beautiful about human creativity and the universal importance of marriage. Despite living in vastly different environments, speaking different languages, and holding different beliefs about the divine, people everywhere have developed ceremonies that honor the significance of two people choosing to build a life together. The bride in the boat carries all these traditions with her, whether she knows them or not. Every wedding ceremony ever performed, every ritual ever created, every symbol ever used connects to every other wedding through invisible threads of human experience and shared meaning. She is both completely unique and part of an ancient pattern, both an individual and a representative of all brides everywhere. Part 4. The Emotional Journey. The stillness continues on the river. Time seems to have slowed or perhaps stopped altogether, creating a pocket of peace where the bride can simply exist, suspended between her past and her future, belonging fully to neither, touching both. Getting married involves one of the biggest emotional journeys a person can undertake. The decision to marry begins with love, that mysterious force that draws two people together and makes them want to intertwine their lives. Love feels both simple and impossibly complex, easy to recognize but difficult to define, powerful enough to change the course of a life yet fragile enough to require constant care and attention. The period before a wedding often brings a storm of emotions. Excitement mingles with nervousness. Joy dances with anxiety. The bride-to-be feels thrilled about the future while sometimes mourning the loss of her previous identity as a single person. Even the happiest transitions involve letting go of something familiar to embrace something new. Planning a wedding can intensify these emotions. Decisions about guest lists, venues, flowers, music, food, and countless other details require time, energy, and often compromise. Families may have strong opinions about how the wedding should unfold, based on their own traditions, their financial contributions, or their hopes for the couple's future. Navigating these expectations while staying true to one's own vision requires patience, diplomacy, and clear communication. Some couples feel pressure to create a perfect day, to stage an event that will impress guests and create lasting memories. This pressure can transform what should be a joyful celebration into a source of stress and conflict. Wedding magazines and social media platforms display impossibly beautiful ceremonies, elaborate decorations, and flawless moments that make real life seem inadequate by comparison. But the most meaningful weddings often include imperfections. Rain falls during an outdoor ceremony, forcing everyone to squeeze under a tent or move indoors. A ring bearer refuses to walk down the aisle and must be carried. Someone gives a rambling speech that goes on too long but reveals genuine affection for the couple. The cake leans slightly to one side. An elderly relative falls asleep during the ceremony and snores softly. These imperfections become part of the story, humanizing the event and making it real rather than staged. The wedding day itself brings a unique emotional intensity. The bride often wakes up feeling a combination of excitement, nervousness, and disbelief that this day has finally arrived. Getting dressed takes on special significance. Each layer of clothing, each piece of jewelry, each touch of makeup becomes part of the transformation from regular person into bride. Many brides describe feeling like they're in a dream during their wedding ceremony. The world seems slightly unreal, sounds muffled or strangely clear, time moving both too fast and too slow. This altered perception comes from the heightened emotional state, the focus of attention on the couple, and the significance of the commitment being made. Walking down the aisle represents a physical journey that mirrors the emotional journey. Each step takes the bride closer to her partner, closer to speaking the vows that will change her legal and social status, closer to becoming part of a married couple. Some brides walk this path alone, claiming their own agency and independence. Others walk with a parent, honoring the family that raised them. Still others walk with both parents, or with children from previous relationships, or with friends, or with their partner, demonstrating that many different paths can lead to the same destination. The moment of saying vows brings everything into sharp focus. The words may be traditional, passed down through generations, or they may be personally written, expressing unique feelings and promises. Either way, speaking these words aloud in front of witnesses creates a public commitment that carries weight and meaning. The voice may shake, tears may fall, but the words get spoken, and in the speaking, something fundamental shifts. The exchange of rings provides a tangible symbol of the intangible promises being made. The ring circle has no beginning and no end, making it a perfect representation of eternal love and endless commitment. Placing the ring on a partner's finger creates a physical marker of the marriage, something that can be seen and felt every day, a constant reminder of the vows spoken and the bond created. After the ceremony comes celebration. Music, dancing, eating, and drinking together allow the community to participate in the couple's joy. Weddings bring together people who might not otherwise meet, creating connections between the couple's different social circles and family groups. These celebrations can last for hours or for days, depending on cultural tradition and personal preference. But beneath the celebration lies a profound transition. The person who entered the ceremony as an individual leaves as part of a married couple. This change in identity affects how others see and treat the person, but more importantly, it affects how the person sees themselves. Married life requires different skills than single life, different compromises, different ways of thinking about the future. The first days and weeks of marriage often bring adjustment. Two people who may have lived separately must now negotiate shared space, shared schedules, shared decisions about everything from what to eat for dinner to how to spend money to whose family to visit for holidays. These negotiations require patience, flexibility, and a willingness to put the relationship's health above individual preferences. The emotional landscape of marriage includes terrain that looks very different from the terrain of dating or engagement. The permanence of the commitment, the daily reality of living together, the way small habits and quirks that seem charming at first can become irritating over time, all these aspects require adjustment and acceptance. But marriage also offers profound emotional rewards. Having a partner to share life's joys and sorrows, having someone who knows you deeply and chooses to stay, having a witness to your life who remembers your history and helps create your future, these gifts make marriage a source of strength, comfort, and growth. The bride in the boat sits quietly, perhaps thinking about all these emotional dimensions of the journey she's undertaking. The water holds her gently, the swans swim steadily nearby, and the moon lights her path. She has time in this peaceful moment to feel whatever she feels, to honor both her excitement and her nervousness, to recognize that she stands on the threshold of something both ancient and brand new. Part 5. Night, Rest, and New Beginnings. The night deepens around the river. Stars multiply overhead until the sky becomes a canvas covered in points of light. The moon reaches its highest point, pouring silver illumination across the water, the trees, the bride in her boat, and the swans who continue their graceful swimming. Nighttime holds a special place in human psychology and symbolism. When darkness comes, the busy energy of daylight fades, making room for reflection, for rest, for the kind of deep thinking that often gets crowded out by the demands of daytime life. Night invites us to slow down, to become quiet, to turn our attention inward. The connection between nighttime and weddings appears in traditions from many cultures. Some societies believe that certain hours of night are particularly auspicious for wedding ceremonies, blessed by the presence of benevolent spirits or favorable planetary alignments. Other traditions use darkness practically, recognizing that the cool evening hours provide relief from the heat of the day in warm climates, making celebration more comfortable for everyone involved. Nighttime wedding ceremonies create a different atmosphere than daytime weddings. Candlelight, lanterns, and soft artificial lights replace the brightness of the sun, creating an intimate, romantic ambience. Shadows and light play across faces, decorations, and landscapes, transforming familiar things into something slightly mysterious and special. The darkness itself becomes part of the decoration, providing a backdrop that makes lights shine more brilliantly. The psychology of darkness relates to the psychology of sleep, rest, and the necessary rhythms of human life. We cannot stay awake forever, cannot maintain constant activity without eventually exhausting ourselves. Night forces us to pause, to lie down, to close our eyes and surrender to unconsciousness. This surrender requires trust. Trust that the world will continue without our vigilance. Trust that we will wake again. Trust that rest will restore our energy and clarity. Marriage, too, requires surrender and trust. We surrender some of our independence, some of our ability to make decisions based solely on our own preferences, some of our freedom to come and go without considering another person's needs and desires. This surrender feels frightening sometimes, like falling into darkness without knowing what waits below. But it also offers relief, the relief of not having to bear everything alone, of having a partner to share the weight of life's challenges. The bride in the boat experiences this kind of surrender as the river carries her forward. She does not paddle, does not steer, does not struggle against the current. She allows herself to be moved, trusts the water to support her, accepts that this journey will take her wherever it takes her. This acceptance, this trust, this willingness to let go represents a mature approach to both marriage and life itself. Water, as we noted earlier, symbolizes new beginnings, cleansing, and the flow of time. The river specifically represents the journey through life, with its currents, its depths, its changing landscapes along the banks, and its ultimate destination in the sea. A bride on the river rides the current of change, moving from one phase of life into another, carried by forces both within and beyond her control. The swans remain nearby as the night grows deeper. Their white feathers seem to glow, as if they generate their own light. They have stayed with the bride throughout this journey, faithful companions on the water, living symbols of the loyalty and devotion that she hopes will characterize her own marriage. The swans ask nothing, offer nothing except their graceful presence, and somehow that presence feels like enough, like a blessing, like a sign that she moves in the right direction. The mist that rises from the water grows thicker as the temperature drops. This mist softens everything, blurring the line between water and air, between the boat and the river, between the bride and the world around her. In this softness, sharp edges disappear. Harsh thoughts fade. The mind begins to drift, entering the state that leads toward sleep. Sleep itself mirrors the marriage transition in interesting ways. When we fall asleep, we let go of conscious control, entering a state where our usual waking identity dissolves and we experience dreams that follow their own strange logic. We trust that our body will continue breathing, that our heart will keep beating, that we will survive this temporary death of waking consciousness and emerge again into morning light. Marriage asks for similar trust, similar willingness to let go of the identity we've carried and accept the creation of a new shared identity. The science of sleep reveals how essential this nightly surrender is for human health and well-being. During sleep, our brains consolidate memories, processing the experiences of the day and deciding what to keep and what to discard. Our bodies repair damage, clear toxins, and restore energy for the next day's activities. Without adequate sleep, we become irritable, confused, and unable to function properly. Sleep, it turns out, is when we become ourselves again, when we return to our best state after the wearing effects of being awake. Marriage requires similar periods of restoration. Couples need quiet time together, moments when they're not performing any roles or completing any tasks, just existing side by side in companionable silence. These restorative moments allow the relationship to recover from conflicts, to process changes, and to remember why the partnership matters. Without this quiet time, relationships become exhausted, strained, and unable to function well. The peaceful scene on the river offers a template for this kind of restorative quietness. Nothing dramatic happens. The bride sits still. The swans swim slowly. The water barely moves. The moon shines steadily. Yet this stillness contains everything necessary, everything important, everything real. Modern life often rushes past these quiet moments, filling every second with activity, noise, and stimulation. We carry phones that provide constant access to information, entertainment, and connection with others. We schedule our days tightly, moving from one commitment to the next without pause. We measure productivity and success by how much we accomplish, how busy we are, how full our calendars look. But something essential gets lost in this constant rush. We lose touch with our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own needs. We forget how to be alone with ourselves without discomfort. We struggle to sit in silence, to do nothing, to simply exist without purpose or goal. And this loss affects our relationships, making it harder to be truly present with partners, harder to listen deeply, harder to create the kind of intimacy that grows in quiet spaces. The image of the bride on the river invites a different pace. It suggests that value exists in stillness, that beauty lives in simple moments, that some of life's most important experiences require us to stop moving and simply be. A wedding ceremony, at its best, creates this kind of pause, this moment outside of normal time when two people stop their busy lives and pay attention to what really matters. The symbolism of dawn will eventually come, ending this peaceful night, bringing new energy and new beginnings. But right now, in this deep night, in this quiet moment, the bride and the swans and the river rest together in perfect harmony. The moon watches over them. The stars will slowly overhead. The water holds them all gently, supporting without effort, present without demanding attention. Thank you for listening to this nighttime story, for allowing these words and images to guide you toward rest and peace. Learning English can happen in many ways, and learning through gentle stories like this one offers the gift of combining language practice with relaxation and reflection. If you enjoyed this journey down the quiet river with the bride and the swans, please consider subscribing to our channel. We create many calm English stories designed to help you learn while you rest, to fill your mind with beautiful images and soothing vocabulary as you drift toward sleep. We would love to hear from you in the comments. What themes would you like us to explore in future nighttime videos? Would you enjoy stories about forests and ancient trees? About ocean waves and lighthouses? About mountain paths and starlit peaks? About cities after midnight when streets fall silent? Your ideas help us create content that speaks to your interests and supports your English learning journey. May your dreams tonight be peaceful, your sleep deep and restorative, and your morning bright with possibility. Thank you for being here, for learning with us, and for choosing to end your day with quiet reflection. Sleep well, and we'll see you in the next story.